and welcome back to a new episode of a Dynasty Mind. My name is Chris Chung, and I am the host of the Dynasty Mind. This is a show as part of Fakepigskin. Fakepigskin, as you know, has been expanded now, and we are excited to bring you new stuff. We are excited to bring you new ideas. And of course, always as always, the motto of this show is to sharpen that process into developing your dynasty team, the one that you think will be the most successful, and the one that will beat your league mates and show off your dynasty prowess. Now, this show is not about talking about players specifically, not talking about who to start, who to sit, but we're talking team construction. We're talking strategies and thinking about how you handle trade talks, negotiations, thinking forward, thinking in 2-3 years in advance, not 10 years, of course. We've known that does never work out. And of course, Happy New Year to you all. We are in the 2019 show. This is the first show of 2019. I'm hoping to invite more guests over and talk about ideas, talk about what they've learned through the season, what they're hoping to apply to the 2019 season. We are in the thick of the NFL playoffs, so there's still more things to develop. We're going to see some players we didn't expect to see break out maybe in the playoff. They get all excited about it, and that's where their value at. For those teams that did not make the playoffs, necessarily their values are kind of frozen for a while until we find out more development in terms of what they're looking for in free agency, in terms of what teams are looking for at the draft. Now, before we even jump into all this excitement, I want to say that 2019 begins with a New Year's resolution for everyone. I hope you pick one that'll be healthy or something that will be productive, or maybe even something that will make those around you happy if it's not for yourself. Be more gregarious, be more virtuous, be more patient, whatever it may be. My New Year's resolution, of course, is to strive to become my new hero, Mina Kimes. I hope somehow, some way that she finds her way to this show so she can hear this every time. I'm going to probably start every episode. Sorry, I want to say semester. Episode with describing how she is my hero. But Mina is awesome. Mina is a very sharp football mind, but of course I want to strive to be more of a fantasy football player in a dynasty kind of setting. So let's start off with the new year. Let's start off with where things ended, actually. We're going to review a little bit about the 2018 seasons. A lot of things when I think about the past episodes, all the guests that I've invited over the past season, during the off season, a lot of them things come true. I can remember Liz leaving us with the impression, go get Joe Mixon, go get Willie Snead. I was not sold on Willie Snead, of course, when she said that. Of course, I was proven wrong. Now, you may not think that Willie Snead is a breakout player or that he's a bounce back or whatnot, but I think all things considered, whatever he had left off from 2017 season heading into 2018, you will find a role player, someone that does deserve a spot in your roster because of his involvement in the game. And of course, with Lamar Jackson really aiming to kind of pass down, which I'm surprised that he's focused more so on Snead rather than Crabtree. But all things aside, I think Willie Snead going forward will have those wide receiver 3, wide receiver 2 value and will become more useful than he was in 2017. Joe Mixon, what can I say? I was wrong to trade him away in my flagship dynasty league, but I got some good value in return necessarily. But we're looking at someone who's exciting, who's young, who looks very comfortable. We're going to get a new coach for the Bengals, so nothing but hopefully. I can't guarantee you anything, Bengals fans. You've been on a roller coaster ride. But hopefully the Bengals are headed more towards a positive direction that will open up the offense a bit more. They have the pieces. They just need to put it together, and they can't do that with a stale guy like Marvin Lewis. Goodbye, Mr. Lewis. You have actually been helpful, I think. I have a hearing from some Bengals fan. Over the years, you have done some positive things for this team, but it has definitely grown stale. You remind me so much of the John Fox era, the Jeff Fisher era, where your past successes does not apply in today's NFL, which leads me to my next point. All my guests has talked about the changing of the game. And if you were not jumping aboard on this faster spread offense, more passing, even running backs are jumping back into value because of their involvement in the passing game, you are behind. Matt Waldman has started our Dynasty Mind in 2017, telling us about the incorporation of college concepts, the more use of spreading out the field, the use of slot wide receivers being more involved. Elliott telling us about all these rookies that come up to be, how they might fit a role in today's NFL, which teams would optimize their strengths more so than and cover up their weaknesses. A lot of those have progressed. Now, with that said, I would like to review a little bit of my process, and hopefully this will provide you with a map as to how you would like to develop your own way of thinking, your own way of building your team. The easiest thing to do is, of course, to point out all the things that I got wrong. Now, necessarily, I don't want to see this as I'm wrong, I suck, and that's the end of it. No, I want to improve on that. Where did I go wrong? Where did my process lead me to? And what may be considered more or less unexpected, a variance, something that's outside my control. I want to say I was definitely wrong on Kerryon Johnson. He looks amazing as a rookie. The fit is there with Lions. The only thing that's holding him back was, of course, Matt Patricia's inexplicable wanting to use LeGarrette Blount in the game. Kerryon can do whatever Theo Riddick can do, whatever Blount can do, and combine it into one. He has the makings of a feature back, and I am definitely wrong on him. It might be too late for me to buy him at value, but perhaps the missing out on a couple of games due to injury in the last few weeks of the season might lead some people to forget a little bit about his value. I'm not expecting much of a discount, if any, and I am willing to pay market value for Kerryon Johnson. The other one I want to say that was wrong, but by most people was wrong, is Royce Freeman. Everyone was high on him. I was high on him coming into the season. I got a little bit nervous when he was talked up as a 106, 105 kind of pick. I thought that was a little too rich. He was perfectly fine as a second round value running back in the rookie draft. But as we can see, even then, right now, Philip Lindsay has just supplanted him, taken over that job, make everyone forget about Royce Freeman. Now, not to say that Royce is not a talented guy. He's shown flashes. He's still worth a stash, or worth a depth guy, kind of. We're not expecting him to take on a feature role at this point. But you're buying him, if you are to buy him at this current value, I would say that you're pretty much buying him as a spell back, as a backup back. And there is upside to be had. So I cannot imagine that he'll go more at the same value that people drafted him as. So he is definitely a good buy low kind of candidate. I am still wanting to give him a chance, understanding that the talent is there. The people that I've talked to know that he is a talented back. So don't forget about Royce Freeman. The other guy that I definitely got wrong as far as rookie goes is oh boy, why am I blanking on the name right now? Perhaps it is, wow, blank it out. Sorry guys, great way to start a show, right? But as you can tell, you want to revisit your thoughts. Just go back to what are some of your thoughts on some of these players before the season began. You can't rely on hindsight to kind of confirm or disconfirm your thoughts. Note the emotions, note the thoughts, note all the reasons you had why you were high or low on a certain guy and why you have them right or wrong. Now, I definitely am proud to say that I was higher on Philip Lindsay than most. I picked him up way before he even was announced a starter, way before I was listening to people out of Denver saying how impressed they were. Now, necessarily, these are free agents, so the chance of hitting, of course, as always, very, very, very low. Understand that, but still go ahead and stash him. I made one mistake in one league where I took him. I swooped him off the waiver wire very early, and then I dropped him for some flavor of the week kind of guy, and that I'm still regretting. But in other leagues, I was able to swoop him up, stash him. Very, very much surprised by what he's become. But yes, guys like a running back with a off-season buzz, listening to camp, most of the times will pay off. Whereas your league mates might be sleeping might not even want to pay attention, want the experts to kind of sort all of these rankings, all of these things out for them after they gotten some data to confirm the thoughts that they already have or disconfirm. By then, you're probably a step or two too late. Now, that I'm not challenging that everyone should need to be a fantasy writer, fantasy analyst, and do this at a 24/7 pace, but it bears for you to pay attention, download Roto World app, go to the Twitterverse, listen to what people say, just pick up on some of the bits and pieces. But all in all, it must fit within a process. You can't pick up everyone. You should ignore noises for those who historically has never been successful for you, even though you picked them off for free under waiver wire. For myself, I'm listening for, and most likely I'm listening for running backs who knows how to catch passes, who has shown a more surprising burst, and then put a little bit of that together in the preseason. And that is my process as far as running back goes, and what are the guys that I'm paying attention to who are under the radar. So pay attention to what works for you. You may be a better judge of quarterbacks. You may be a better judge of running backs. You may be a better judge of wide receivers. And it's okay if you are a better evaluator of one position or better person who consumes better information on one position or maybe two positions. You don't have to be great in every single position. This is why it's great to be a part of a community where I can talk to people, can bounce off ideas, and just be able to fill in the weaknesses where I had. Had it not been for Travis May, I may not be looking at some of the surprising wide receivers such as Deshaun Hamilton. I may not be looking at guys like Darius Jennings. Even though he didn't break out, I'm still paying attention to him because he has value. And also, we're listening more also for free agents, those who remain forgotten but has a chance to bounce back. And we've seen a lot of surprises this year. This brings me to my second point. Don't be so hasty to just discard value, discard their certain players. They might be high on them for some reason, but they didn't show in year 1. They didn't show in year 2. But bam, suddenly year 3 and year 4, they find themselves to have a bigger role. And at this point, draft pedigree doesn't mean much. We're now looking at more the peripheral things such as situations, such as being able to contribute. What are some of their athleticism? For me, athleticism doesn't factor as high as more fundamental skills such as route running, such as being able to set up blocks, set up pass blocks, having vision, having certain level of arm skills. And those are all vague terms. And I'll talk a little bit about that later on in a later segment about my process, what I'm listening for, what fits for me. And for others, they definitely have more, they're smarter people. They know how to use stats. They know how to watch film. They know how to put them together. Whichever camp you sit on, whichever camp works for you, you want to hone in on that, understanding that whichever direction you choose, and there might be more than these two, but whichever direction you choose, there is weaknesses, there is biases. Nothing is free of personal confirmation biases. Nothing is free of human error. No matter what people tell you that film may be superior or that statistics or metrics are superior, none of them are free of biases. That is the one thing that everyone, of course, that's me demanding. But anyways, for the sooner you realize that your bias comes into play, the sooner you make fewer mistakes, and the sooner you recognize the limitations of whichever process you are incorporating, and the better you are at building a team once you recognize which direction you're headed to. But before I head into what I want to talk about in this episode, I would like to start introducing some of the 2019 rookie class. The season's over. We're in the midst of playoffs. People want to sit on their laurels and just enjoy the playoff games, but we are moving more towards the draft season. We're already in the draft season. We probably should have been in the draft season during December, during the bowl games when you had the time to review what happened throughout the college season, when you have time to look into some of the bowl games. Of course, bowl games don't give you all the information with players sitting out, with motivation levels is also different and preparation is different, but we're looking for fundamental skills, or at least I'm looking for fundamental skills. And therefore the college players in the upcoming class. The one thing that I'm hearing over and over again and has been sticking is that this class will be talent heavy on wide receivers. There will be more wide receivers to go around than any class before in the 2018-2017 season. This class 2019 season will have way more rookie wide receivers. Now, whether there is any talent that is on the level of, say, a Julio Jones or AJ Green, I don't know yet. I hear there is a potential, which is way better than the past classes where we're talking about Laquan Treadwell, where we're talking about Amari Cooper, where we're talking about Kevin White. All of those were exciting kind of wide receivers. They had the potential to be wide receiver ones, but so far for those classes in the past, I have yet to hear someone say they have potential to be like an AJ Green, to be a potential of a Julio Jones. Now, that's not to say that they have to be those to be a wide receiver one, but look, the matter of the fact is, if you can find the next AJ Green, you find the next Julio Jones, you're finding a wide receiver ones for more than 5 year stretch, more than 6 year stretch. For others, I don't know when they'll flame out, when they'll sustain their wide receiver one capacity, and that may be a function of the recency bias that I have about Amari Cooper. Now, Michael Thomas is still sustaining that, and that's great. He'll continue to be that. I will continue to treat him as a wide receiver one. But a guy such as, I'm going to blank out. I knew I should have prepared better. But Amari Cooper had his up and down, right? Some people are questioning whether he is that on the same tier as a wide receiver one of a Julio Jones or Amari Cooper. An AJ Green. We don't know yet. Brandon Cook certainly was not a wide receiver one, a consistent wide receiver one. He's still very much talented. He is great to have on your team, and you probably will treat him as a nearly every week starter. But as you can see, those kind of players don't enter in the same conversation like a Calvin Johnson or, like a Randy Moss. This class has the potential. That's what I'm hearing. This class has the potential of one or two players, and the remaining ones are maybe on the same level as a Calvin Ridley or as a DJ Moore, or maybe as on the same capacity as Kevin White, Amari Cooper again. So we're excited. This is a very, very loaded wide receiver class with a potential special top tier. The running back class, I will definitely say that I haven't heard anyone say that there is a great running back in this class. There are plenty of good ones. We have Elijah Holyfield. We have Miles Sanders. We have Damian Harris. I'm still waiting words on Joshua Jacobs. Travis Homer's in this class. None of them what I expect to have a Ezekiel Elliott or Todd Gurley type of talent in this class, but that's not to say that they won't be able to contribute as a running back one. It's just that I don't think that they will have a longer term types of running back one success. They might flow in the high end running back two throughout their career, which is still great. You still want these players, but this would inform me to think about how I want to spend my draft capital and where do I want to invest in if I do decide to trade for picks, or do I want to and from there I can assess what my team needs and how I can bolster my team. Definitely I've worked my way through this past 2018 seasons to ensure that I am sufficient in the running back and quarterback and tight end area. So I would be happy to focus more so spend my capital on wide receivers. As for the tight end class, initially we are all just thinking about George Fant. Or Noah Fant. I'm sorry. Noah, George. One of the Fants. Noah Fant. I think it's Noah. He is the only tight end worthy of a discussion. But as the season goes on, as with any season that goes on, we're beginning to see a little bit more depth. We're seeing Sternberger from A&M. We're seeing Elise Mack from Notre Dame. We're seeing Isaac Nada from Georgia. All of these somewhat forgotten people, but now in the last season, they showed up why they were considered high recruits before, especially with Mack and Nada. They were former 5-star tight end. 5-star tight ends don't come along every year, so You just can't cast them aside. Their production throughout their college careers probably didn't show much of it, but hey, they're tight ends. They're late bloomers, right? So why don't we keep that in mind, file it in mind. You may not draft them. You may not consider them to be any importance in this draft class, but file their names in the back of your mind. They might fall to the 3rd round. They might fall to a late 2nd round. Good time to draft them, in my opinion. And we're talking this about it in a 12-team league. So those are some of the things to look forward to. Keep your ears peeled. Make up your own judgment. Make up your own decision as to where you want to invest your energy in and how you want to funnel a way that makes your analysis process work better. On to the next segment. Now, coming back, how do I sort of inform my decision as to which rookie, which prospect, which player I might be more interested in than others? There is no way for me to draft everyone. There's no way for me to be high on every single prospect, and you'll oftentimes encounter someone with a different outlook of a player, even if you look at the same data, even if you're looking at the same metric, or even when you're looking at the same film, you might draw a different conclusion. So for myself, and I've come to realize, and this might be because lately I've been watching Criminal Minds a lot. It's a great TV show, but draft evaluation may be something similar to profiling. Now, we're not profiling a players based on their personality, based on where if they are a good person or not, or that all the charity work that they do, or all the drugs that they were involved in, or the domestic abuse. Those are the things that are out of my control, out of my even out of my expertise to know how it affects them at the next level. I've always been peeved by some of the cliches when people tell me, oh, if the player can't make good decisions off the field, what makes you think he can do great decisions on the field? Well, let me tell you something. I know a lot of players make great decisions off the field, but they make sucky decisions on the field. So that is not a one-to-one correlation. Now, if the person is a bad person, I don't know much. Maybe they can still contribute. Maybe they make bad decisions off the field, come from a tough background, but they put in so much of their talent and their effort in bettering themselves on the field. My only hope is that I pray that they find the help that they need off the field and to keep them on the straight and narrow. And again, those are things are necessarily not part of my equations as to what I want to do when evaluating players. Now, coming back, when we're profiling, I'm listening for things. I'm listening to things that has a history of success, or statistic-wise, whether it's film watching, whether it's metric using. There is a process. There is something that tells us that this player could succeed. Now, there's also this area where it's very, very much outside of anyone's calculations. You can have the best mathematicians. You can have the best film watchers. This area we'll call Q. I don't know why I call it Q, but let's call it Q. This Q in this equation of whether every information you gather will lead to success, there is this Q which is immeasurable. Now, what does that entail? This entails how a player takes up coaching, whether they understand the coach or not, whether they have a good chemistry with their teammates or not, whether they fit in the city that they were drafted in or not. Those are all outside our awareness, or not outside our awareness, but outside our calculation. We don't know how motivated a player is in playing in the NFL. We have no idea if it's money that's motivating them, if it's the prestige that's motivating them, if it's just the intrinsic motivation of playing football. And there are so many possibilities that we cannot account for. And oftentimes we cannot say that just because this player has all the metrics, has all the film supporting him, that he should have automatic success. That does not work this way. We've seen it happen with Jamarcus Russell. We've seen it happen with Aaron Curry. We've seen it happen with Ryan Leaf. Now, looking back, you may see, there are some red flags, but not every single player has a visible red flag that you can account for. This is a factor Q, the Q factor. But there are things that will tell us, that we can pay attention to, that we can listen for, that if you don't do the work, at the least find out what these keywords work for you. For me, keywords that help me make good educated guesses are scheme fits. And this will be important for this year because wide receivers is all about fitting in a certain team and scheme. Is a good fit, how history has shown if these coaches, what they like to employ and how they like to use their wide receivers, how to use their wide receiver 2, how to use their slot wide receiver, how to use their wide receiver 4 even. And that helps if it's a fit or not. I'm listening for that. I'm also listening to measurables, metrics, dominator scores, college market shares, college dominator ratings. Those are helpful indicators. Those are not the end all be all, but they are good indicators. Qualities that I'm listening for that are often not captured, or maybe they're captured in a special way. I'm listening for good route runner, or someone who's great in pass protection, someone who is showing growth through his career playing football, or someone who is confident in a pocket for a quarterback, for example. These qualities are all positive qualities of a player that I'm listening for. It's not a matter of yes, they have the quality or no, they don't have the quality, but to what degree are they more towards the positive qualities or more towards the negative qualities, and where do they find themselves on that spectrum? And this is how we have to kind of make sense of all this information. So you're making a profile of a player and you set these things and they have to come together. You can be great in one area, you can have all the information in certain aspects of the player, but if you don't bring them together, you don't have a complete picture. You don't have a complete profile of whether this player is someone that you want to draft, or that you want to invest in, that you want to chase after or not. And so I hope that this helps you start thinking about your own processes. What are some of the things that stand out to you? If it's one area, great. But also be sure to note that, for example, if you're great in the metrics, if you're great in statistics, also try to attack your reasoning and see if it stands up to scrutiny or not. Yes, you cannot never be 100% confident, or nothing can stand up to 100% be scrutiny free. But if you're building your confidence, anything that's over 50%, that's something that is helpful for you to incorporate. Yes, this player stands up to these scrutinies. I may not be 100% invested in it, but I know the odds are with me. Okay, the odds are with you in the way that you kind of profile your players. So this is an exciting season, and I want to just end the show here talking about looking ahead into the draft season, which is a remarkable fun period of Dynasty. And before I sign off, I would like to tell you guys, go visit our website, fakepigskin.com. We have so many great things coming up. We're not just about football right now. We have DFS strategies. We have write-ups. And hey, I'm not just blowing smoke up your whatever. Our articles, our writers, they're amazing. We're going to have a NHL DFS writer. Bobby Adcock helped me so much on the CFB. I know this college football season's over, but the articles itself speaks for their quality. I've been able to take down to some small tournaments just based on his writing. And I'm also like to especially talk to you about Dookie Hogue. That's at DOOKIEHOGUE, Dookie Hogue, who is our newest writer and is providing playoff DFS strategies. Go visit it. Our sites, everything to you is for free, as long as you just click on the link and give him some kudos about if he helps you out to win some cash as well. So that's it. That's it for today's episode. I will see you guys again very soon. We're going to be talking more about processes. We're going to figure out how to sharpen our mind and in that way build our dynasty through our sound and strong processes. And out.